Hello there, exiles. You ever wonder to yourself, you know, Conan can be something better? Well, what if Conan Exiles had deeper progression, stronger builds, dangerous boss farming, and an actual in-game grind? Well, that is exactly what Enhanced Armory and Arsenal Mod Pack, better known as EAA, brings to the game. This mod completely changes the way progression works in Conan Exiles by adding new classes, professions, glyphs, accessories, boss tiers, enhanced crafting systems, and long-term character progression that keeps scaling far beyond the vanilla gameplay. Today, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how EAA works, how to get started, and what you should focus on first if you're completely new to the mod. So, at its core, EAA is a progression mod, and instead of reaching the end game and running out of things to do, it adds a layered progression system with things like boss farming and even open world boss farming as well. It adds a huge amount of new content, including weapons, armor sets, crafting materials, vendors, followers, bosses, and even upgrade systems. So, getting started, the first thing you'll notice is this new menu system. The menu system can be accessed by pressing Shift and V key, and you can access it through your character menu at the bottom left of your character screen here. If you start a new character, you'll notice that some feats might be missing. No panic, there's a get basic feat here that you can use to get started into EAA. Keep in mind that a lot of the interactions that you're going to be having with various items in this mod pack require you to know the knowledge from the knowledge tree or feats beforehand. I also recommend checking out their Discord. They are very helpful in it. And they also have an Excel guide that you can view and look through all the information pertinent to the mod. There's also an easy way to get all of the game's emotes. That way you can use them on yourself and your followers. As for server admins, admins can access the admin menu, which will allow you to tailor certain things like the fame levels and whether or not players can access specific menus. Currently, we have fame, we have class, we have profession, we have enchanting. We do not have magic as of right now, as the dev kit has left out some important things for the modder to include this in the updated UE5. And there's also the awakening menu. So let's get started. We can start with the basic class menu first. In the classes, you have your main classes. There is Bandit, Guardian, Merchant, Slaughter, and Tamer. You can choose a subclass as well for a additional buff at a lowered rate. Now, you cannot choose the same class that you had as your main class. Just keep that in mind. The Bandit is a agility weapon damage specialist that focuses with proficiency into daggers, bows, and katanas. There are also additional buffs, things like having your arrows ricochet if you miss, armor penetration, and heavy attacks will stagger and no longer rebound off of shields. To include, there is also the Guardian class. The Guardian class is, of course, an armor-based class that increases damage resistance and allows armor to weigh less. You also receive the ability to block unblockable attacks. They receive proficiency in hand axes, hand maces, and hand swords. Then there is the Merchant. This Merchant class increases your carrying capacity and has the ability to increase attributes for your followers. You can also make yourself twice as likely to gather rare resources when harvesting, and regenerate damage taken from you over time. They receive proficiency in hand spares, two hand spares, and short swords. Then there is the Slaughter class. The Slaughter class is your basic strength weapon damage class, which receives proficiency in two-handed weapons mainly. They also allow your throwing axes and bows to ricochet as well, and you cannot take more than 33% of your maximum health per hit. Then there is the Tamer class. The Tamer class increases your follower damage with companions and pets. Also allows you to split the damage between you and your followers, kind of like the corrupted abilities. There is also immune to effects and the ability to reduce the enemy's overall damage potential. They also receive proficiency in claws, chakrams, and punching daggers. Keep in mind that your main class is going to have the ability to get an artifact. The artifact gives you an additional bonus relative to your main class. You can only get these for your main class. You'll also notice that there are items up here in the top right. This is your basic class orb experience. Class orb experience can be gathered from most monsters in the open world, bosses, thralls, what have you. You will use those to level up your class, and keep in mind that each level requires incrementally increasing amount, and artifacts typically cost around 1,000 class orb experiences. Just keep that in mind. Moving on, we have the profession. Profession system works alongside your class progression and becomes one of your main sources of currency and materials early on. When you pick a profession, the game starts directing you towards certain resources to farm. For example, if you choose the butcher here by the cleaver, you will get the ability to turn in resources like bones and blood and meat for the basic currencies in this game. Starting out here, you will see that there are profession stations. This is what you will interact to do that. As you can see, here I am a butcher, so most of my major items to turn in are related to things that you would gather as a butcher. Here we have blood, bones, and oil. You would turn these resources in by crafting these profession material crates and then selling them. Once you sell them, you would receive a profession bundle, which you would open, which gives you profession tokens, some obaloo, and a rare chance at a glyph bundle. More on the glyph bundle coming soon. There is also the ability to create specific supplies. Now, supplies themselves you cannot utilize by yourself. You have to go into the open world and find a laborer thrall to put into the laborer station here alongside those material crates, and they will generate passively some items that you might need for your profession. It is a nice quality of life feature that can help you reduce the grind later on. Now let's get started into some of these items here. We talked briefly on the glyphs, so let's start with the glyph enchanter. Glyphs are an item that will drop from your profession crates and a bounty system that you can interact by turning in heads from various animals and monsters and bosses that you fight in the open world. These glyphs can be equipped to yourself or followers to give you basic buffs that will help you out. Now, you can also empower or enchant these glyphs to be stronger. In order to do that, you must have coal as the fuel. and you'll press the play button, ensure that the glyphs are in the inventory of the glyph enchanter, and put Ubaloo in there, or Obaloo in there to create the more powerful version. Give me his. Alright, now we have a little bit more light here to teach you about this mod. Alright, so in addition to glyphs, there are other equipments that you can farm in the open world as well. For example, you can get backpacks from bearer thralls, which can be used with this legendary vendor. Now, the legendary vendor is going to be one of the most used traders that you will interact with for this mod pack. As you can see, as I open his inventory, we have some backpacks that you can craft, which you can also find from the bearer thrall to improve them. You have class swipe and subclass swipe tonics that will allow you to change your classes should you decide to change your mind later on. There are also various items that allow you to have enhanced versions of popular items in the game needed for progressing throughout the game. For example, the enhanced Cage of Pain is a essentially mobile version of a thrall tamer. You can pick this item up, take it with you. No longer would you have to really worry about building a very expensive Wheel of Pain or dragging thralls back to your base. You can now do it on the go. Another thing to note is these destruction orbs. Destruction orbs are one of the major items that you will receive for killing bosses in EAA. And it ties in to the progression loop very heavily. Now, you can also make these using gold Obaloo, which is a bit more on the expensive side rather than just farming open world bosses. Another important item that you will need for progression that you also will receive from profession bundles with a rare chance and bounty bundles with a rare chance are these enhanced cores. Enhanced cores are going to be utilized with the legendary blacksmith and the legendary armorsmith. If you have the thralls that you can find in the open world from this mod pack, it will increasingly cause these armors to be crafted at a much stronger capacity. Now, you will also notice that in here you have core and enhanced items. First, you will have to make a regular core item. For example, if I type in Graphu, you can see that there are two types. You have one with the yellow border, this is your basic one, and then you have one without, which is stronger. You can see the armor here is 430, the armor here is 330. So let's talk a little bit more on how progression exactly works. So you will go out into the open world, try and progress your character through normal means by fighting real bosses. You'll get those destruction orbs. The destruction orbs themselves are used in these boss spawners. Boss spawners can be placed by server admins and should be placed in a central location for most players, which want to farm bosses. It's a very fun mod pack to play with your friends, so bring some friends along, as some of these bosses can be very hard to kill. With the first one, you have T1 boss spawner normal. This will spawn in a random real boss enhanced through EAA, so they are a little bit tougher to kill. There's also the boss spawner blood crystal. This will always spawn a blood crystal boss that you can use its items to make specific items needed in the armorsmith or blacksmith or even the legendary vendor. Same with the Amazonian boss spawner. She will drop blood to create specific Amazonian items from this boss. Then there's the Black Dragon Army, another boss that also drops unique drops for making specific items. And there's the Eldritch Horror. This one also drops unique items to include some items that are needed to progress specific bars for smelting. Then there is the Army of Darkness, and then it progresses to the Lycan. Now, the Lycan, the Titan, and the Legendary Dragon all require you to craft lures for them. These bosses are much harder than what you have previously fought, so keep that in mind. That, for example, the T6 Lycan can easily one-shot you if you are not prepared in complete decked out enhanced core items. There is also the legendary or the Legion spawner. The Legion spawner is another various spawner that will give you specific items to craft things. Then it goes into what I would say the in-game EAA progression system. The Feral. Now, Feral bosses require just a destruction orb. You must kill them to progress into the next tiers, and to be able to craft tokens that will allow you to spawn in the Savage, and then it goes into the Primal. Now, I recommend when you are doing these boss farmings to do them anywhere that you feel is safe, aside from next to your base. They do not damage bases, however, but they can kill Thralls pretty easily should your Thralls not be up to snuff. Back in the menu here, we're going to go over more of the systems. As an admin, you have access to your fame settings. If you have the EAA leveling mod installed, you will be able to set the specific level of which you would like to allow players to basically start over at level 5 with a very powerful buff. I set mine to level 150. That way it gives the choice if players want to start over, they can, earlier than going all the way to level 300. So there's also armor ratings. Now, normally the soft cap damage resistance is going to be 90 max. However, you can also make things harder for your players to give it a little bit more challenge. I recommend keeping things vanilla. However, if you are wanting a hardcore server, by all means, make things a little bit harder. You can also close off boss spawner access, so only admins can spawn from the boss spawners. So let's get into the fame menu. Here you will see potion can be used with level X or higher. For me, it is level 150. You get these potions by clicking the increase fame button. Once you use that potion, you'll be set to level 5 and you'll receive a fame letter. Here you can see that with a fame letter, you can turn it in for this gem, and you can buy specific buffs that are pretty strong for your character. For example, they have increased movement speed, armor, HP and armor, even more armor, follower damage, strength, lifesteal. Some of these things are a huge benefit, so it encourages players to keep progressing and, in a sense, ascend into their stronger fame levels. Now on to the enchanting, but before I go into the enchanting menu, I am going to show you what exactly you will be enchanting. At the legendary vendor, there are items which you can put into your accessories for EAA. These are things like Ring of Precision, which will increase your agility weapon damage. There's stuff for follower damage. There's stuff for strength. There's stuff for armor. And in the window, once you have those items crafted, you will also create some enchanting materials through the legendary vendor. And it helps if you create multiple of these, because as you enchant them to make them stronger, it progressively lowers the chance of upgrade. And if you fail an upgrade, that item will be gone. It will break. We currently do not have access to magic, so I will not be going over that, but we do have Awakening. Now, Awakening is a type of system where it's like a skill tree. As you can see here, I have some Awakening points. Awakening points are given to you from killing bosses from the boss spawner or open world bosses at a rare chance. You can use these Awakening points to give you specific buffs in the skill tree that you are looking at. For example, the attack skill tree has agility weapon damage, it has specific stats, it has stamina, and armor penetration. You can also go into defense, which also has all of the stats to include carry weight, armor, and there's also the utilities, which is going to be follower damage, authority stats, and heat and cold resistance, and even concussive damage. There's also demonic items that you will find through boss spawn farming that will give you bonuses as well. Keep in mind that in order to utilize these buffs, you will have to click this button to awaken yourself in order to receive those buffs. So let's talk a little bit more about the Thralls in this game for the mod pack. Thralls in this mod pack can be found in the open world. There are quite a bit of them, bright light. Or you can get them from the bounty hunter, as I showed earlier. All of these different thralls can be found in their guide, as you can see. Oh, sorry. Here in this window, you can see that there are blacksmiths, armorers, carpenters, slave masters, religious things, Amazons, the laborers I mentioned earlier for the profession station and laborer station, and even some more advanced thralls, the elite black dragon guards, which are pretty strong. These thralls are pretty easy to tame. However, I do know that they can be a little bit on the tougher side to find. So if for some reason you go to a camp that ends up having the specific thralls that you are looking for, just kill them all and wait for them to respawn in order to get your specific thralls. If you have any questions, I do recommend you join their Discord, as the people there and the players and even the mod creator himself is very active and very helpful. So what are my final thoughts over EAA? I would say that it transforms the game into a full progression-focused fantasy experience filled with loads of different items that you can utilize, the admin can spawn in, and bosses that you can fight with your friends, so it is pretty fun to me. Honestly, it's far more content than I could ever fully cover in a single video, so I highly recommend checking out the official EAA guide and Discord for deeper information on the advanced systems and progression paths. If this guide helped you out, feel free to leave a comment, subscribe, or share it with your friends, and let me know what other Conan Exiles mods or systems you would like me to cover next. Thank you. This has been Disaster Times. Enjoy.